I'm still, after all the fights you've had, in awe of the fact that you do what you do. It's mind-blowing to me.
Thank you, man. Yeah. I mean, it's not that hard to get your beat, but it was a great experience. Like, I learned a lot in there. I can't really talk.
When this fight was first announced, you had said something to the effect of this would end Jake Paul's career. After what you saw tonight, do you think that Jake should continue to box, or what do you think the future holds for him?
Yeah, look, I really take my hat off to. I mean, we have to see if it is a broken jaw. Those injuries are very difficult to come back from. But as AJ said, look, that last shot would have knocked out a lot of heavyweights.
So here's what just went down. Jake Paul has apparently called it quits on his boxing career after Anthony Joshua absolutely demolished him in the 6th round down in Miami. The beating was so severe it left Paul with a jaw broken in 2 places that needed immediate surgery. The 28-year-old walked into that ring trying to prove he belonged with the elite-level fighters. Instead, Joshua's devastating right hand not only ended the fight, but potentially ended Paul's entire boxing journey. Despite everything, Paul managed to say he felt like he won a couple rounds and claimed victory somehow.
1-2, and then I got dropped. But yeah, I was doing good. I just think my cardio, just the mental pressure of the big guy and sparring the big people is different than the 10-ounce gloves. So I was feeling his power a lot more. But it was a great experience. Like, I learned a lot in there. I can't really talk.
Are you in pain?
Yeah, but
Does it hurt?
It's not from like talking.
Talk to me about what your jaw feels like, because you got
It's like a baseball in there.
two
then
plates?
It just feels like
4 titanium plates.
4 titanium plates. How many do you have?
Just 1.
8 screws. 8 screws.
Wait, all right, I got plate in my head.
The word is that Paul has had enough of getting his head knocked around and is seriously thinking about hanging up the gloves after that vicious knockout. The fight saw him hitting the canvas multiple times before that final brutal finish that shattered his jaw, requiring surgical repair. Taking that kind of punishment from one of boxing's most dangerous heavyweights has everyone wondering if this is the end of the road. Paul himself has reportedly said he's done with boxing.
I'm getting hit in the fucking face every single day while I could be playing soccer in Saudi. I'm friends with the Saudis slash football. Back in the day? I was on the A team in 7th grade. I have a really good kick. I can run fast, and I'll knock out everyone that f***s with us.
Yeah.
Eddie Hearn doubled down on his prediction but got more serious after watching what happened. When he said this fight could finish Jake Paul's career, the outcome unfortunately backed up his words exactly. Hearn pointed out that jaw injuries like this don't just hurt physically, they mess with your head too and can be incredibly tough to bounce back from, especially when you're still trying to make it at the highest levels. He mentioned how staying away from sparring, worrying about getting hurt again, and losing your timing can completely derail a fighter's path forever. Even though he gave Jake credit for his heart and courage, Hearn made it clear that boxing doesn't forgive, and situations like this often make fighters question if it's really worth the damage.
Eddie, I want to follow with you because when this fight was first announced, you had said something to the effect of this would end Jake Paul's career. After what you saw tonight, do you think that Jake should continue to box, or what do you think the future holds for him?
Yeah, look, I really take my hat off to. I mean, we have to see if it is a broken jaw. Those injuries are very difficult to come back from. But as AJ said, like that last shot would have knocked out a lot of heavyweights. And I know he went down heavy, but you know he was conscious on the floor. And I thought his game plan, although obviously very negative early on, which it had to be, was smart at times. And there were times where he held his feet and let his hands go. You know, it was a very one-sided fight. It was always going to be a one-sided fight. But you can't give him anything but credit and respect. There's a lot of negative people out there. There's a lot of people who want to criticise people. They're not doing what Jake Paul's done. He just went in with Anthony Joshua and gave it his best shot. Took a lot of punishment and ended the fight eventually.
Joe Rogan didn't mince words when he weighed in on Jake Paul's knockout and broken jaw, telling the YouTuber turned fighter to seriously consider what continuing this path might cost him long term. Rogan stressed that the beating Paul took from a legitimate heavyweight like Joshua comes with dangers that go way beyond just the immediate damage, warning there's a toll that simply isn't worth paying. He's talked about the lasting problems many fighters deal with after they retire, and described the shot that dropped Paul as having the impact of multiple punches combined. Rogan's point wasn't just about this single bout, it was a clear warning that consistently absorbing punishment at this level can leave permanent damage, and Paul needs to decide if moving forward is worth that risk.
Look, that guy did great for someone who's been boxing for like less than a decade. he has had no real professional opponents other than Tommy Fury that were legitimate world-class boxers.
I don't even remember what happened in the Tommy
He
Fury
lost
fight.
a close decision, but it was a good fight. It was a good fight, though. He's a good boxer. If he wasn't a YouTuber, people would be way more impressed with him.
Yeah.
The problem is he was like a famous kid, and then no one took him seriously.
Yeah.
But
Oh, and then he started too with like more spectacle-ish fights. People were like, "Oh, this is you." He fought, Nate Robinson, like a basketball
yeah,
player.
but the thing is, he knocked Nate Robinson
knocked him
dead.
the fuck out,
and
yeah.
it's the way he did it that I was trying to tell people. I'm like, no, that was.
There's also talk that Paul is thinking about openly using steroids to shut up all the people who've been saying he was already on performance-enhancing drugs. Based on what's floating around online and unofficial sources, Paul supposedly said he'd show everyone the actual difference to prove his previous look and performances were completely natural. Some people think the idea sounds dangerous and provocative, while his fans see it as Paul finally fighting back against years of rumors about his body changes and strength gains. With boxing's tough anti-doping policies and the serious penalties for PED violations, most people are doubtful and warn against believing the claim without proof. Unless Paul comes out and directly confirms this himself on the record, it's still just speculation that adds more drama to what's already a chaotic time for him.
Jake said that I snort, that I'm a cokehead. My rebuttal to that was, I'll tell you what, you can test me randomly for the next 5 years for if I can test you randomly for performance enhancing the next 2 years, and I never got a response on that.
This is why Jake Paul is on PEDs. Within this past year, Jake Paul has literally hit a second puberty and aged like 10 years. Furthermore, he has acne and his hairline is receding like crazy. And people like Jake Paul are going to the best skin doctors in the world and probably are taking hair loss products that aren't even approved for the rest of us. Now, I'm not saying that Jake Paul necessarily took a steroid to make him look bigger, but he's definitely taking something that allows him to recover faster. That way he's able to train more and get better at boxing quickly.
Anderson Silva came to Jake Paul's defense after the Anthony Joshua fight, arguing that people should give Jake credit for having the guts to face someone that dangerous. Silva emphasized that Paul has shown he's ready to take on legitimate tests instead of just fighting easy opponents, and that simply agreeing to fight a former heavyweight world champion deserves respect from boxing fans. Silva said critics who wrote off Paul's previous fights can't keep saying he ducked top-level competition when he stepped up against someone with Joshua's credentials, regardless of how it ended.
The people need to respect him. I don't say that only because I'm fight here in a company, but it's because Jake, the people need to respect Jake, I mean, every single fight go inside the ring, everybody need respect.
Anthony Joshua's devastating right hand completely shattered Jake Paul's jaw in 2 places during that 6th round sequence that led to the knockdown and knockout finish. The punch caused a double fracture that was obvious right after the fight ended, and Paul himself confirmed the extent of the damage later. Following the bout, Paul was rushed to the hospital where doctors operated to fix both breaks, installing 2 titanium plates on each side of his jaw and pulling several teeth during the procedure. He shared an update confirming the surgery was successful and mentioned he'd be stuck on liquids for about a week while he heals.
Covers.
Don't ever give a monkeys about what anyone says, because they sit at home, they're full of negativity. It's like the people that are negative towards someone like Jake Paul. Look at what he's done with his life. Do you know what I mean? So yes, it took AJ a couple of rounds to get hold of him, and then he knocked him spark out and broke his jaw. It was a frustrating 2-3 rounds maybe, because Jake was moving so much, holding, but did well, I thought. I mean, I was impressed with him. I mean, I was more impressed with his toughness, because I think that last shot would have knocked out most heavyweights. I mean, you've got to respect him, because he did what many people wouldn't do, which was get in the ring with him. And, he didn't, I know he run and hold, but he also let his hands go at times. And he was in the firing line, and, we got 6 good rounds in the end of actual
Is that how
work.
you see it in the end?
Yeah, I actually think it's a positive, because, we could have gone in there and got it all over with 45 seconds. He's done an 8-week camp, and now he's done 6 rounds. He's got something to go back on work on with the team, and onwards and upwards for a big 2026.
The vicious 6th round knockout that Anthony Joshua delivered to Jake Paul made it crystal clear this was a legitimate fight and not some fake setup like many people online had been suggesting. Promoter Eddie Hearn shot down any claims the bout was scripted, pointing out it was an official professional fight with real consequences, overseen by boxing commissions and available for legal betting, which would make any predetermined result both illegal and impossible. Hearn also referenced the serious nature of Paul's double jaw break and the surgery required as proof that nobody fakes that kind of damage in a real contest.
Damn. damn, son. Fuck me. How did Jake Paul actually remain conscious after that? And yeah, he got a broken jaw in 2 different places. And when they zoomed in on his mouth inside after the fight, a row of his teeth had just been dislodged into a whole nother fucking section of his mouth. Whatever you think of Jake Paul, surely that now puts an end to the fixed fight narrative. Like, his mouth is in bits. This was not a fixed fight. No matter how much you dislike it, it was what it was. So how did he do? Well, on the one hand, Jake fucking Paul, the YouTube guy who started by fighting Deji, getting in a ring with AJ is just impressive to start off with. He made it 6 rounds, and when he was getting hurt, he kept getting up, and he showed heart. You know, it probably would have been easy to stay down and not get your teeth shoved into your fucking back of your head. And a lot of people are saying, look, he lasted longer than Francis Ngannou, so that's something. But why did he last longer than Francis Ngannou? Obviously, I think we all know why. Francis Ngannou came into the ring with the belief he could win. He was trying to win from the first bell. Jake Paul was more trying to survive and hope that like a miracle happens in the fight sometime. And when you've got those completely different states of mind, it delivers completely different results, right? Francis is right there in front of you. He's trying to hurt you. He's committing. He's leaving openings because he's committing. The other guy is halfway across the fucking ring. And when one guy isn't wanting to engage, it's really hard to pin them down and hurt them because they're not basically contributing to the sport. You know, we're supposed to be fighting each other, not, you know, you running away from me and me having to run after you. And we've seen this before in other boxing matches. It just makes it a very difficult night for the guy who's trying to be the aggressor, especially when you've got a ring that big and the guy who you're fighting is much smaller.
Fans have started making wild comparisons between Jake Paul and Francis Ngannou based on how each performed against Anthony Joshua. One social media post from Blonde MMA put it this way: everyone's missing the real story here. What this demonstrated is that Jake Paul isn't just a superior boxer to Francis Ngannou, he potentially measures up against Tyson Fury. Don't forget, Francis lasted 2 rounds against AJ. Jake made it to 6. These reactions focus on how Paul's 6-round showing, despite losing via knockout with a broken jaw, went significantly longer than Ngannou's previous 2nd-round loss to Joshua, with some fans using this as evidence that Paul showed better durability in that particular matchup. Paul's ability to keep going longer, even with his jaw fractured, was used by supporters as proof he might be tougher or more resilient than Ngannou when facing elite-level boxing competition.
There is a reason why Jake Paul lasted longer than Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou came to fight. That's it. It was like Jake was stuck in 2020 the way he stayed 2 meters away from Joshua at all times. Jake was nowhere near Joshua's range. Nowhere near. Francis was very near. He came to box him. Jake just came in there to survive. That's all it was. He just wanted to see the end bell. He maybe land a lucky overhand right, which he did land a couple. Eventually, when the distance was closed, due to Jake not running, due to him being tired, boom, the knockout came. That's all it was. I don't want to hear people say, oh, he did better than Francis, because he didn't, because Francis was in boxing range and Jake might as well have been in a stadium across the road.
Alexander Usyk's manager Sergey Lapin called Joshua's performance a good showing in his return after being away from the ring, describing it as a quality fight that could set up major battles later this year against top heavyweights like Tyson Fury. Lapin gave Paul props for his resilience in getting back up after being dropped multiple times, saying the former YouTuber displayed real heart even though he was facing a much more powerful professional puncher, with Joshua's strength being the deciding factor. Looking ahead to future fights, Lapin mentioned that a Joshua versus Fabio Wardley bout would be compelling given Wardley's talent and power, and he restated his opinion that Joshua would beat Fury if they fought next year. As for Usyk's upcoming plans, he revealed his team is in talks about a possible fight with Deontay Wilder potentially around June or July, though specifics were still being discussed.
Pro boxing fans here with Sergey Lapin. Sergey, Anthony Joshua stopping Jake Paul tonight. He had a message for Tyson Fury, greedy belly. What did you make of that?
Nice fight. You know, before 1 year, not work, not training, and now today this first step. Yes, maybe second step, one more opponent, one more fight, and maybe we see fight Fury and AJ in September, November. I don't know. It's good fight.
Yeah, what did you think of Jake Paul's performance in there? He kept getting up, showed bravery. What did you make of Jake Paul?
You know, for me, I like this guy good. This guy 5 years training boxing in have have big heart, you know. He stand up 3 times, and stand up and fight, you know. This not, you know, AJ punch very strong.
What about, you know, obviously Usyk is no longer WBO champion. Could we see AJ and Fabio Wardley now?
This is good fight. I think this is good fight. Fabio, good boxer, good puncher. I think this is nice fight.
Lastly, you know, Tyson Fury, if he fights Joshua next year, what happens?
I think AJ win.
Any update with Usyk Wilder?
We work, teamwork, working. Maybe June, July.
Where could that be? Here?
I think I don't know. Maybe USA, maybe Saudi. No, it's working.
Former world champion Carl Froch held nothing back regarding his opinion on the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua matchup, indicating that fights like this have pushed boxing into what he described as clown world territory. Froch had already criticized Joshua's decision to fight a YouTube personality instead of top-tier opponents, claiming it hurts the sport's reputation and even diminishes Joshua's own legacy, stating that battling social media stars doesn't represent the competitive standard expected from elite heavyweights. While he may not have used those exact words about the fight being a disgrace directly, Froch's overall message clearly showed he views celebrity crossover fights as damaging to boxing's respectability and history.
The job in 6 rounds, got Jake Paul out of there, dropped him. I think he got stopped on his feet, counted out, knocked out, whatever, however you want to call it. It wasn't a bad knockout. It wasn't an El Sparko. He wasn't rendered unconscious, but he got done. He got it on the chin. He went over. He didn't beat the count. He was sort of up on his feet. But if I'm honest, the whole fight was terrible, wasn't it? It was just so bad. It was just shit, wasn't it? A proper bad fight for AJ. And let me start with AJ. AJ was following him around the ring a little bit, sort of pouring with a jab, putting the jab on the shoulder of Jake Paul, sort of putting him in the corner and not really pulling the trigger on the right hand. He didn't seem to be motivated to go in there and just smash Jake Paul into oblivion in the first 1 or 2 rounds, which I think he could have done. But he's been out of the ring 15 months, a bit slow on his feet, a bit ring rust maybe, and he was it's hard. When I used to spar novice amateurs, even when I was a world champion pro, if you're not motivated, sometimes you can have a couple of bad rounds and you're sort of looking at your opponent and a jab hits you or right hand hits you. And I think AJ was in a bit of a daze early on, just walking him around, touching the jab on his shoulder, not really pulling the trigger on the right hand. Didn't look like he got out of first gear. Jake Paul was just on pure survival mode from round 1 right through to round 6. I don't know if he's got a moral victory going 6 rounds. Maybe he has. People might give him credit for going 6 rounds. But he got in there and just survived. He just went in there and ran like a chicken from round 1 right through to round 6 when he got splattered. And it's like, it's just, you can't really justify what he's done, because this is supposed to be a professional sanctioned boxing match. And I think it brings the integrity of the sport down when somebody like AJ, who's a 2-time world champion, can't get in there and just completely dismiss somebody like Jake Paul, who I've said for ages can't fight. He's not a professional boxer. It's just AJ following him around, touching him to the shoulder. Round 1 came and went. Round 2 was much of the same, bit slow. I think AJ got caught with an overhand right at one stage, but sometimes when you're out in the rain, you're going to get wet.
So what's your take on this whole situation? Should Jake Paul walk away from boxing for good after that devastating knockout loss to Anthony Joshua, or do you think he's got more fight left in him? Let me know what you think in the comments section.